Hello, lovely souls. My name is Jackie, and welcome to the Raven Rabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I'm an enrolled member of the Washoe Tribe of California and Nevada. I have always been deeply connected to the unseen spiritual world since I was a child. I wouldn't say that my spiritual awakening can be pinpointed to one specific date, time, or event, but rather it was a natural unfolding over my lifetime. And I want to share that journey with you to let you know that your spiritual awakening is divinely guided. If you want help with self worth and self doubt, then this is the place for you. I took baby steps to change my life and heal from anxiety, depression, and self doubt. Ultimately, I built Raven Rabbit in my quest to help others like you do the same. I am a metaphysical minister, energy healer, and intuitive coach. In this podcast, I draw on metaphysical principles, I read energy, and I intuitively guide our conversation with the holistic, indigenous, spiritual approach to life, healing, and happiness. Stick around to explore the unseen, navigate metaphysics to live your life to the fullest, be the happiest version of yourself, and to deeply heal from what holds you back. Hello, Raven Rabbit family. I'm your host, Dr. Jackie Cope, and I'm so happy that you're here at my podcast. This is going to be episode 30. It has been a long road here just to get to 30 episodes, but we all start somewhere. We have to start at some point to get our manifestations and our dreams and our realities happening. Today's episode 30, I wanted to talk about vibrations. Episode 30. Everything has a vibration. This is something I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about a long time ago, but didn't get around to. And I think now is a really great time to be getting into that. I've been doing the podcast for almost about a year now, and it's all about just that vibration and gaining that confidence and becoming who I am and the experiences that I'm having. So I'm so glad to be here with you today on episode 30. Welcome. Let's get grounded in our conversation. Let's bring our hands to heart center if you have that available to you. If not, just feel your heart center. Take a deep breath into that heart center. Exhale. Bring that earth star chakra underneath you. Get grounded in today's conversation. So today I want to talk about how everything has a vibration. And before I would get really frustrated, when I would say before I got really deep into my spiritual journey, when I would hear people like say the word vibes. Like, I don't know, it just bothered me for some reason. Like I only want this type of vibe, or I'm all about this vibe. I think the word vibe has been misused a lot by this generation. That's very possible is why it could be. But when it's used correctly, it really can be a beautiful thing. Um, Ever since I've been focusing on my vibrations, I think it started really small. It started with me and my heart. I worked on the vibrations of each of my chakras from the root chakra up. I did that through yoga. I started getting really grounded in the work that I was doing and the processes I was creating. And really just starting to realize that every single thought that I had, every feeling that I had, has a mirrored reaction. It enters out into the auroric field around me. That then vibrates to the people around me, and ultimately it goes out to the whole universe. The vibrations that I'm holding really matter. And I have felt myself shift in so many ways since I've started to become much more aware of that. Ever since becoming aware of my vibrations, I definitely think my life has up-leveled, and my approach to life has definitely up-leveled. Like, the mindset I have now is just so much different than the mindset I had a few years ago. So, like I said, it really started with yoga. I got my yoga certificate in the beginning of 2020. So I basically finished in 2019 because I had it in 2020. And then I really dove deep into my metaphysical studies at my college, University of Metaphysics, and I started just devouring every book. One of my books was about healing your chakras. And just to riff off of it, just from memory, I started with my root chakra. And this was stuff I was already using essential oils at the time, but I started applying that essential oil knowledge to not just earthly troubles, such as a runny nose, earache, throat is sore. I started applying it to the method, not literally applying essential oil, um, to my chakras through diffusing and some mist and stuff like that. So it started with the root chakra. I also started gaining interest and understanding of my Reiki power that I had within me. It was something I've always done, sending energy through my hands, but it got more honed in that. And when I really started focusing on meditating, getting that energy in my hands and sending it, so like I rub my hands together, I get into that meditation focus, I let the energy flow, and I would literally hover my hands over my chakras. So this is a real beginning. Like if you're already spiritual, you probably have already been doing this stuff. That's great. But if you're not and this is new to you, it's where you start. And you just start with yourself first. You have to change your vibrations and who you are to then start aligning with the folks that you're admiring and aspiring to. So I started healing my root chakras. Then I moved up to my sacral chakra and started doing some womb healing. And I moved up to my solar plexus where I was holding a lot of emotions and a lot of pain. And then moving to my heart chakra, which had a lot of healing to do through just love in general, romantic love, family love, all of those things. Something I learned from my Reiki teacher when I went to my Reiki certification was that I had a block in my throat chakra. My Reiki teacher had said that to me. And before, I think it was before, I can't quite remember, but I went to a psychic in LA and she told me the same thing about my throat. So I had a lot of healing to do there. It's something I always have to work on. I also noticed in my human design chart that none of my throat chakras are like developed, which is very interesting. So communication is like a big learning thing for me. I think that's why I was sent here, was to learn how to communicate. And then I spent a lot of time on my third eye chakra. That's something I've always spent time on. I've always felt deeply connected, deeply spiritual, deeply intuitive. And then my crown chakra. Once I started opening that up, my spirituality and connection just like boomed. I felt so connected. So it really started with me first. What I was doing, I was using essential oils to heal my chakras. I was using crystals. So I found I would go through the book, it would give recommendations. I would get those crystals, I would use those essential oils, and I was making that a part of my routine. It's just second nature now. And that helps me get my chakras aligned. Then I went to Reiki certification courses and I started using my pendulum to understand how my chakras were flowing, whether they were blocked, whether they're flowing, whether they need energy. So I started using the pendulum there. All of those things help raise my vibration just internally. I started changing my mental mindset. That really occurred through me going to my University of Metaphysics. So there are so many great ways to work on your mental mindset. You can write your own affirmations. I have shared some affirmations. If you sign up for my emails, I send some. And pretty much like every spiritual podcast, you can get a wealth of affirmations to get a hold of. And I was also listening to meditation on Spotify. There's one I like. I think it's Purely Being. I think that's my favorite one. And she does a ton of affirmation work. And I was listening to that stuff in the car, driving, at home. Yeah, Purely Being guided meditations. Lucy Love. I just love that. And that really started changing my mental attitude. And when you start working on that mental change, then you're going to start seeing the shift in your vibration change. And then when you start vibrating differently around your family, friends, and partner, you might see a lot of changes. I saw a shift in friends. Um, I saw a shift in my mother in a very positive way where we talk about a lot more open things now. We were always open with each other, but now it's on a different level with me raising my vibration. We are talking about some deep stuff sometimes. And luckily, I have a partner who really understands what I'm doing. I know I've listened to other podcasts where women have partners that don't understand what they're doing, don't quite get it. Sometimes they support it and they're like, "That's great, honey. Do you?" But they're not in it with them. And so I know that can be hurtful. And that's not my experience at all. My partner is completely for it. I tell him visions that I have, things that are happening, things that I saw. I tell him about how I see shifts in the in, like the timeline, and I just tell him everything. And it's a big shift in our relationship, and it's really interesting to have somebody like that to talk to about those really deep things. And so our vibration together is much different too. When we run into hard times, the way things are, issues are tackled in this relationship versus prior relationships, completely different because we focus on that spiritual aspect. We might get caught up on like the earthly thing that happens, the thing that makes us upset, the thing that caused a fight. We'll talk about it. We might argue a little, but then we come back and we're like, well, why are we fighting about that? We go to a real spiritual place with it, and it's really nice to know that he's thinking about those things on another level versus just that earthly level where you go around and around in circles. We can really start doing processes around it and understanding our shadows and everything. So I started with me with my vibrations. I started with, and then just starting with me, it crept into obviously my closest relationships, friends, family, partner. And then from there, I really started using vibrations around my home. So way later on in my journey, I was like putting bubbles around my home, surrounding my home in golden light, really just putting out in the world like this is my space here at my physical home and property, and I want it to be protected. Um, I'm not sure if I talked about it on the podcast very much, but my ex-husband, he there was some spiritual matters that were happening. I did talk about it. And where I would see the black shadow around him and in his face. Well, that black shadow was always kind of lingering. The black shadow sometimes I'd still see out like on the property. And then when my current partner moved in, he started telling me about it. He's like, there's a black shadow and it's in the stairwell a lot. And the black shadow has pushed him down the stairs. So there was some kind of like entity that was very resistant, I think, to my partners. I always thought that that entity was very attached to my past partner, which I think it did glob onto him. But when I got a new partner, it started trying to do its antics on him. And so we started really protecting our home. We got obsidian for the front door. We do offerings outside. We're working on one for the well. We haven't done it yet, but we're going to start doing offerings for the outside. I've used prayer ties on the outside by the well. There's some things we've done. We do our crystal work around the house. So we have various crystals around the house. We also take the crystals out. That's what made me think of this vibrations episode today, because we just brought our crystals back in from the full moon the other night. And just feeling their power in the house and feeling them happy makes me so happy. And that raises my vibration, and their vibrations are raised, and the property's vibrations are raised. Like it all just comes together and makes sense. Um, so yeah, I started thinking about my property. Then from there, I started sending vibrations to so we started talking about distance. So in Reiki, it got introduced to me that there's distance healing. You could like healing and vibrations knows no time, space. There's no container around it. So I was sending healing in a bubble to my classroom, to my office, to where I would work, to a meeting I would go to. I shared in my brain surgery podcast episode about how I sent Reiki healing to the operation room, how I sent healing to the hospital room I was at. I started changing my physical locations and really sending energy and vibration so that when I would enter into those spaces, my vibration was already up a level. I was already vibrating at a different level because I had already sent healing there. Which reminds me, I need to do that for my new workplace because I want to make sure I'm having the right frame of mind and have the vibrations that I want to have or higher. But just in general, I don't want the little things to come and get me and to like just get me off of whack. So, another one I just thought about too that I'm hearing is car. Like, put that bubble around your car, and that could really help with certain things too. So, raising your vibrations, it starts small. It really does. And when the small starts getting bigger, the little things that happen to you stop bothering you so much because you're just in a different level and a different existence. One book that really changed my vibrational frequency, I think, it's called The Holographic Universe. This is an older book. Let me see. It gets republished all the time. Let's see here. It was done in 91. Okay, it was reissued in 2011. But a lot of the work from this author, Michael Talbot, he lived from 1953 to 1952. And he was a best-selling author beyond the quantum mysticism and the new physics and the holographic universe, and like several other novels. This book, man, talk about changing my life. I started reading this book at the beginning of my spiritual journey. It was heavily scientific. It was heavy academic language. And let's see, I'm trying to see how many. It looks like I got in about 20 pages before I quit. Because I was like, oh, this is too hard. I am not comprehending what's happening. I did, I finished my bachelor's in metaphysics, and I picked this book up a few months ago after brain surgery. I was like, okay, I gotta read this book. I'm laying in this bed. I gotta do something. And I picked this book up again and I finished it so quickly. I have so many dog years in it. I could go ramble on about all of these thoughts. And I probably will because it started changing my view of it's called the holographic universe. It changed my view of the universe. One of the biggest things it did for me was understanding parallel universes. I have been having it's not a reoccurring dream, but a reoccurring person show up in my dreams. He always comes, and it drove me crazy because I didn't know what it meant. So when I was really young, teens, I took him being in my dreams all the time as like a sign that we were supposed to be romantically involved and that they were the love of my life or like things like that. I took it very romantically, like, oh, they're in my dreams all the time. He's trying to tell me something. And it was an issue because I felt like it wasn't healthy. And then he was always there, always in my dreams. Throughout my first marriage, he was there. That caused some problems. And just internal turmoil, not like problems. I never brought it up. Just internal, like, why is this happening? And then recently, again, just recently, he's been in my dreams. I was like, this has to stop. And reading this holographic universe book, it was like, what vibration am I putting out to keep inviting him in to my realm? Because I don't want him in my realm at all. Other issues have occurred in the earthly plane that does not interest me to have a relationship, a friendship with this person or his spouse at all. Not at all. And I'm like, he keeps showing up. And these dreams are ridiculous. They're like ploys to get me to feel sympathy for him. One of the dreams was he was trying to confide in me that he had cheated on his wife. Another one was he's trying to confide in me that he missed me so much. They're just like these really emotional, real feeling dreams. And it's like, why does he have to do this all the time? And I started reading. So I did what I know to do, cut cords. Like, okay, maybe I thought about that person. I tied a cord back with him and I invited him back into my realm, unfortunately. Maybe that's what happened. But then it started getting to the point where I would tell my partner, like, I hadn't even thought about him. Wasn't on my mind, wasn't thinking about it, not at all. And here he is again. So I started reading this holographic universe book and I learned about parallel universes. I was like, I have to meditate on this. I was meditating on my issue about the dreams. I had another very vivid dream. I was upset about it. I went to meditate and in the meditation I was like, I need an answer. I need to know why this person keeps showing up into my dreams. And what I heard from my meditation from my guides was, in a parallel universe, him and I are together, and that teenage fantasy I had of us being together happened, and it is not a fantasy. It is a very abusive, poor, unhealthy, toxic relationship. And the Jackie in that universe is experiencing that relationship and wanting to get out in any way that she can. And I was like, whoa. Like, talk about the timeline doesn't exist, the past, present, the future. There's this sideways parallel, there's sideways parallel universe over here where that fantasy I had came to life. And it made me think about sometimes our fantasies and the things that we thought we wanted aren't always what we need. And that Jackie was calling out for help. And that I needed to send light, love, and forgiveness and healing to that Jackie in that parallel universe. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, tell that Jackie she can leave. She does not need to stay with him. She does not need to be involved with him. She can move away from him. And the dreams finally stopped. And I was like, oh, maybe that worked. And then last night, another one came. So I'm going to have to do some meditation work and give you all an update because it was like, what? Why was he in my dream last night? I thought we dealt with that. And that goes back to the episode where I was talking about, like, I did all of the work. I did all of the things. It should be all better. No, because it's a process. It's a healing process. So I have to figure out what happened in my meditation and figure out what I need to do next because that person is uninvited from my dreams and I do not want him to be there. And like, had I not been doing all this vibration process, I don't think I would have ever had that outlook on it. I would have been frustrated, irritated like I was before. Now I'm just like, whatever. We're going to fix it. We're going to send it some healing energy. We're going to process it. I just come into that situation with such a different viewpoint that I never had before. So, I urge you to start working on your vibrations. Start with yourself. The best thing I think to start with is your chakras. If you don't know about chakras, I encourage you to start looking into it. They're energy centers in our bodies. Many cultures believed in them. I've tried to find native writings around this, indigenous. The only thing I have found is like 3 points that an indigenous person talked about, 3 healing points within the body. But indigenous people were always doing it because they always did hands-on healing and teas and sweat. So it's definitely there. And definitely start healing yourself first and start the process of raising your vibration. So, if you're working on I need to start saying process, guys. We got to be held accountable here. If you're in the process of raising your vibration, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Tell me about the vibration you're working on, maybe why you're working on it, and where you would like that vibration to be. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, my email subscription, and I would love to look I look forward to hearing from you. I'm getting all tongue-tied. So, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Expand the life, healing, and happiness of others in your field by sharing this episode. You can get more of my content and other helpful tips by following Raven Rabbit LLC on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Be sure to comment on Spotify and answer the episode's question so I can keep creating content you love and desire. Thank you so much.